Hey everybody, it's Pyro, RLCS caster for SSA for 4 years now, and been analyzing it here since last season, so drop a sub if you want to see more about the region. But today, we're discussing the most highly anticipated news to finally drop for SSA, the 2/3 role. What does it mean? What does the change entail? What will the future of Rocket League look like in SSA? And more. Rostermania, we're even going to discuss. So, before we dive in, let's take a look at the announcement when it was made.
This wasn't in the graphic, but they are enforcing a 2/3 region lock rule. So all teams who play in a region have to have 2 players who have a residency or a passport to that region.
Yes!
Teams have been informed, they're aware of how it's working. I'm excited to see how that national pride for the leagues here.
Okay, so as you can see, I was very excited during that video. Listen, we just went through 2 years of the imports playing and running over the competition. And I remember going into open number 5 of RLCS 2024, and we pretty much knew that Foot Esports, the 3 Spaniards, were going to Major 2, going to Worlds to represent SSA, and how ridiculous it was. In fact, back in 2023, we were calling for these changes to not be made for what has happened in the past 2 seasons. Take a look at a video from that long ago and what we were forecasting might happen. But it's the fact that you don't really have people from that region representing that region. Imagine Stacks announcing, and hailing from Sub-Saharan Africa, the team representing this region is 2 Americans and a Canadian. Like, what? I'm not sure what combination makes sense. That's not really for me to decide. But I believe that having complete anarchy over who can join on what team in what region is a little bit insane. And we knew without a 2/3 rule it was gonna get ugly, and it did. I like to think of RLCS SSA as a trilogy, like 3 books. The first book is the first 2 seasons, which were just the beginnings, right? Finally a chance for these players, and now that they were included in RLCS in 2021, to be the best in their region. All those hours of working hard at this game and being incredible at it could finally meet something where they could be recognized globally by the esport. And the action was amazing, by the way. The ATKs, Digital Devils, all the way to the Bravado Gaming versus Orlando Pirates, those 2 clashing over and over again. Those are stories we'll never forget, and Snowy's been leading the way since the very beginning, so credit due to the man. But then you have book number 2, titled Theft. Like, we knew this was coming. RLCS 2024 and 25 had 0 import restrictions, and you know, we saw the consequences. We saw those stories of SSA players growing and developing just get dismantled slowly over the next 2 years and undermined by a policy allowing imports to run rampant in these emerging regions. Imports that had the many years advantage of servers and RLCS inclusion in the region, then to just take advantage of a policy and poach event earnings. They were not the best in their region, these imports. The idea of working hard to be the best in their region was buried at the thought of stealing another region's earnings while on vacation. Think of it not only from the player's perspective of their dreams dying, just so these players can earn some cash and be recognized globally for it, but also broadcast talent like us. You know, by Open 5, and there's 6 events, we knew that Foot Esports were going to represent SSA at the Major, at Worlds. It's just deflating, especially for us who we've watched these players work so hard for this point just to be forgotten.
Pyro, your thoughts of yet another season with SSA, a region you knew nothing of 3 or so short years ago, and one that you've become inextricably attached to.
I think if you look at this from a 10,000-foot view, very easily, a region that's been given so much smaller amount of time to progress to this point could have easily been swept and overtaken like a tidal wave by everyone that's competed in this season and the last. Instead, SSA continues to pride itself on its resiliency and its pushback. And you mentioned every open every event. There's more representation in the top 16, the top 8. That speaks to exactly the heart that I've recognized since I have been so graciously embraced and welcomed into this region. And that's what that felt like. Suddenly, RLCS SSA had little or nothing to do with SSA. But now we can leave that in the past because we've reached book number 3, a new hope, if you will, a region reborn. Players that gave up trying are unretiring. Teams of the likes you'd never imagine are beginning to form. And best of all, we will never, ever hear that 3 Spaniards are representing SSA on the global stage in RLCS. So let's move on to the details and look at exactly what it takes to register a team with the new region lock. How do you do that? Okay, so let's go through the official statement from RLCS, and I'm going to highlight the important points and talk about what they mean. All rosters must field a majority of players who are residents or citizens of the region they are competing in. Here's the important point. At least 2 players must meet regional eligibility requirements through citizenship or permanent legal residency. Citizenship should be clear. The permanent residency is important as well because this in the US, I know, is known as a green card. I'm sure colloquially it's different for other countries, but the important point is it's not a visa, right? You can get a visa for a different country for travel or for work, which is a little more easy to go. Like if someone wanted to get a visa for the season for SSA, they could come down and compete. That's not the case. Permanent residency is much more difficult to obtain for countries within the region, so it excludes anybody that just wants to vacate to SSA just to compete. That's just not going to be the case. Another important point. Teams that choose to register a substitute 4-player roster will need to ensure that 3 of the 4 players meet regional eligibility requirements. This is a fantastic addition to add because you can already imagine the teams that say, oh yeah, I have 2 SSA players. One of them's permanently benched. The other is a starter, but you have 2 imports. Can't do it. So good for that to be clarified in the rules because otherwise we know what would have happened. These changes are designed to keep regional competition fair and balanced while still allowing international talent to shine. Can't tell you how justified it feels to know that what you've been preaching for years is finally written in the rules. Representation matters. If you're still sitting there thinking, I disagree, I'd rather just see the best teams and best players in the world compete at Worlds. That's what it's about. First of all, I hope you'll reconsider that position now that the literal rules of the esport disagree with you. But secondly, think about it this way. Tell me why OCE being top 6 at Worlds was one of the best storylines at this last World Championship. The French crowd rooting them on, backing them. Nothing beats the story of an underdog with a dream who's persevered for years. That's where the heart is in the C sport. That's where it needs to be. And those stories do not happen unless you get some kind of regional integrity in the C sport. I hope you'll reconsider it. Okay, so that's what it takes to build a roster in this new upcoming season for RLCS, and specifically, of course, in SSA, you need 2 local SSA players or 3 if you have a substitute. But what will teams do? Will they embrace the 2/3 rule and go shopping for some import players, or will they just band together as 3 local teams? Well, from what I've seen and what I've heard, the answer is yes, both. Either or. Let's start with the first bombshell report, which was the fact that Limitless is disbanding. Their org is no more, and that means the best local team of Sweaty to Die For and Snowy are no longer under contract. Listen, guys, this team has been at the top for a long time. These 3 players, they were together for 2 seasons. Even Snowy and To Die For had teams since September 2022. So that's a good 3 years of historical dominance with this team. So being off contract with the players' push for separation, it seems so. To Die For, the first one to post after the matter, says that him and Sweaty are pairing up and they're looking for a import teammate. This marks the first time in SSA history that the best players local to the region will not field a full local team. A new era has officially reached SSA, and for good reason. listen, the skill ceiling only gets higher with an import teammate, depending on who you pick up in the pro scene at this point. And it's a lucrative opportunity. A import teammate could go to 3 lands, teaming with the best local SSA players, Major 1, Major 2, and Worlds. Especially if you get a good org behind you that's willing to pay up for the pretty penny for a good pro. Hey, we'll see. But this could be a really good pickup for the two of them, and seeing maybe top pros from around the world having their eyes on that. But that's not the only team the top pros are going to have their eye on, because there's another one looking for an import as well. Guns tweets out that him and Snowy are going to team up and look for an import third. Now, hold on. Because even with Guns tweeting this and Snowy quote tweeting it and endorsing it, I still don't believe it. Maybe not a lot of you understand, but these two are like a bickering pair of grandparents. The amount of times that these guys quick chat spam each other, have talked trash on each other in the Twitch chat, have just said rude comments to each other. I mean, they're a rivalry. And now they're teaming up. I do not believe it. It's cinema. From a fan of the region, it is cinema. I can't wait to see what this team looks like and what those comms are like as well. But it seems like two ends of the SSA region that are both in the top 4 in terms of talent of this region are banding together under one common goal: to be the best. And this, to me, is the best story already laid out in the region, and we haven't even started. I am so excited to see who they end up picking up as well in terms of imports. But I wanted to conclude and say that not every team is finding a duo and shopping for a third. I talked to Daps, who's teaming up with Declan, and he was in my Twitch chat, which, by the way, I stream on Twitch every day. Maybe you should drop in. I'm probably streaming right now. Go follow. But he was telling me that, yeah, no, they're only looking for a local player for their third. I mean, the truth is, not every unit is going to be able to get a big org that's going to fly down an import or a pro to live in SSA. How many pros are willing to live in SSA? Do they want to deal with the ping difference if someone doesn't want to fly down? I mean, this region is so tight-knit. Pros know each other so well that you can still form very good local teams. Especially with the development over the last couple seasons with some of these imports being involved. So I'm excited to see what teams are generated. We'll keep tabs on it all here on this channel. So I hope you've clicked subscribe. If you haven't, it's just a click and it helps me a lot. Like and comment as well. We'll be back with more SSA coverage. Can't wait for the new season in November. I'll see you then. And for now, peace.